All right, so here's the finished drawer storage. You might have seen it in the Tune M1 walkthrough we did, but this is entirely constructed of 80/20, the main framework, and then these are just valances that cover the drawer storage. They're not structural at all. And I get into that in the guide, but we used the majority of what we used are these 90 brackets to join the 80/20. We cut all the 80/20 with aluminum cutting bit on a miter box saw. Worked great. It was pretty straightforward, not unlike cutting wood, except for all the aluminum shavings you get everywhere. But so I started with a base framework here using 80/20. I just found a spot. I found locations in the bed that were allowed the base framework to sit level, kind of in between these ribs and alongside the wheel well back there, and in front of the ribs and behind the ribs in the back. Depending on your truck bed layout, you may have to put like a 1/2 inch piece of plywood base down below to build on. I was trying to avoid that to reduce weight, but so that's how it starts. Basically rectangular framework, and then these vertical supports here in the corners, one there, one here around the drawer, one in the far back and one in the back corner there, help to give it its vertical structure. And then this bar here was added to be able to attach the drawer slides from the inside. And then these center supports here that I referred to in the guide, this is the lower center support and the upper center support, are there to just provide more stabilization to that drawer slide support in the center, as well as the center of the entire platform. And then let's see, I'll take the top off. We found that we didn't need to anchor this down just because of the way our truck is set up, and the tolerance is so tight with this platform cover. It goes underneath the bed rail there, and is notched to go around the camper brackets, so it really doesn't move around at all. And then our propane tank is mounted through it, so it just kind of keeps itself in place. But I have a link to another video, and I apologize because I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head, but he shows how to jig this so you can drop holes and bolts into this aluminum extrusion easily. But I'll take the top off so you can kind of see the finished product in more detail. It's essentially a 56-inch set of drawer slides attached to a 58-inch drawer. The interior is approximately 13 inches wide, so these Cydio crates fit down in there perfectly. Make gear organization real simple, and it's wide enough to house a 22-inch cook partner stove. I made this kind of ridiculously intricate lift mechanism to lift this off of here so we can access the storage underneath it. I'm not going to get into that, but I'll get the top off of it and we can kind of look at the interior details. And then I'll also cut into some footage I took while I was constructing it that goes into detail on all the fasteners and kind of how they piece together. I just wanted to supplement that and kind of show the finished product with this video. All right, so this is the platform with the platform cover off, and let's take a look at that real quick. This is the platform cover. It was obviously started as a rectangle, and I notched it to contour to the bed rails a little better in our truck, and then it's got notches for our camper brackets on this side. Cut out for the propane, and then there's a approximately 30 by 7 inch hatch that I used a 1 1/8 inch hole saw to start and create kind of a handle, and then a reciprocating saw set at a 30-degree inward angle to cut, and that creates a nice beveled edge, a very simple rudimentary hatch that you can remove and then drop in. I've used that on multiple platform builds over the years, and I haven't found a better way to do it, so that's how that works. And then let's see, so you can see the vertical support here. If I go around, you can see there's another vertical support, and then back here where these two longer parts of the framework extend, I've got another vertical support tucked back here. There's the center vertical support that ties in with the drawer slide support, and then there's another vertical support below it. I realize I'm saying support a whole bunch, but I've been unable to come up with a different type of vernacular to describe this stuff. So, and then back here, got another piece that runs all the way out to give the plywood some structure on this side. We did put this center horizontal support on the top, what I call the platform cover support, I think, in the guide, just to give it some integrity. So when we step up, we step more toward the center of the platform, and then up onto this part of the tune to get up into the bed. So if I were to put my weight all over here, it is going to flex the cover. So you could put a brace across here to help prevent that. Another piece of 80/20 over, and then you could even run one down to the wheel well. I didn't find it necessary. I could always add it after the fact, but this allows us to have that nice big hatch access to reach in and put our more bulky items get stored in here, like this heater when it's dismounted. Oh, and then you can see all the valances connected there with those T brackets. I also used a T bracket on the back side of this Blue Sea Systems fuse distribution panel to mount that to the extrusion. Nice and solid. We already had power coming in here, and from here it gets distributed. So this goes to the camper lights and vent fan, and then back to a couple of constant on 12-volt outlets we have back there. The power just runs back behind the drawer, underneath it alongside the frame. And then this power runs alongside the drawer support, and put a couple of drop-in 12-volt outlets here, or one, and then a switch power. And that's just a 1 1/8 inch hole saw, and then you drop the 12-volt outlet in there and screw it in. Pretty simple. And then this also goes out to an external 12-volt outlet that we have for our fridge to run it outside when we're stopped. Let's see. And then as far as these valances go, this one was just rectangular. Now, it wasn't perfectly square off on this side. I must have messed up a little bit on my cutting. So there was like a little bit of like an 1/8 inch variance from here to here. So I had to kind of mess with this to get it to fit in place nicely. But other than that, everything was perfectly square. This valance here, what I did is I just cut all of these rectangular to the framework dimensions, and then notched the corners where needed using one of these 90 brackets as a template, and then cut it out with a reciprocating saw. That was the best way I could figure out to get these valances in place and around these brackets while still being able to use the brackets. So that's how I did that, and I'm happy with the way it turned out. As far as finishes go, we did teak oil on all the valances and the drawer, just because it's easy to apply quick. and it's easy to reapply as needed. I think that's it. I'm going to cut to these other videos that I took while I was building this. They go into a little bit more detail on the brackets specifically that we used and kind of how everything was pieced together without these skins on it. If you guys have any questions, drop a comment down below, but definitely be sure to check out the guide on our site that goes into a lot more detail with pictures and stuff. And hopefully it helps somebody. Again, I would not recommend it for the average person. It's far too tedious, primarily because these see dynamic load and movement being in a vehicle. And so every single fastener I coated with blue Loctite and then put in so that it wouldn't back out through vibration and stuff over time. So that makes the job incredibly tedious, and there are so many of them. So that's plywood's way faster, way simpler to work with, and it is a bit heavier, but this certainly looks a lot nicer, I think. So anyways, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. All right, so this is the platform framing. Just kind of wanted to walk through the hardware, the choices I made, and how this all pieces together. Basically, this started as raw 2020 aluminum extrusion. I went with 2020 because it was easier to find and cheaper than the US standard 1010. For corner brackets, a lot of people use those cubes, especially with the 1010. It seems like I found these corner brackets that I liked a little bit better. I didn't have to drill and tap the ends of the 2020 to make these connections, and then I reinforced them with 90-degree brackets as well. So for the drawer slides, these are 56-inch drawer slides, and I used double 90s to support this long center piece of 2020 that acts as the anchor point for the drawer slides. And then in the center, I braced it with another section of 2020 and a series of 90-degree brackets. They're all cheap and pretty easy to install after the fact. I've got some drop-in M6 anchors that I used for those. Let's see here. Just kind of walk through here. This is the section left of the drawer in the truck. Kind of covers the in front of wheel well section, or behind wheel well section. Center brace to keep things square. And in the back here, this is kind of a custom deal for the first gen Tacoma because the cab side of the bed kind of has a little bit of an angle and that before it goes straight down. So I made this extension not only to kind of give some bracing, because the actual drawer goes back past this rear frame point. That was just to maximize the length of the drawer to 58 inches. And then I made this little custom jig here. This is for the kind of the valances that cover up all this stuff once it's in the truck. So I used these little T-brackets mounted to the back side of the extrusion that will anchor all the valances too. So this one just kind of blocks that back section, and I've got a piece that's angle cut to contour to the bed shape on the cab side. Off this end, this is just another structural support. I made this one piece so it'd be stronger. And that supports the platform as it extends past this main part of the structure. And no valance covers inside. We're just gonna leave that open. hopefully we don't have issues with gear falling in there. Normally the stuff we store back here is more bulky, but you could cut balances for this as well, or just put one thin sheet of 1/4 inch just to block stuff from falling into the drawer area. But that is the framework. Again, mostly what was used were these 90 brackets, these corner ends connectors, and they're 3-way, so this is connecting this, and this simultaneously. This little piece I just hooked on here with this modified 90, but again, that's kind of a custom deal. And then there were some other pieces that we used, these drop-in 90 degree. I don't know if I can get this to focus there. They just slide into the T-track, and then this piece slides onto it, and it anchors into the aluminum. I used those mainly in this area around the drawer face so that there was no hardware protruding into where I wanted the drawer face to recess. Yeah, and then the drawer slides were anchored with M6 hardware. I did 3 of the slide-in M6 anchors and 3 drop-in anchors with the little ball bearing that holds them in place. I just did that because that's the hardware I had, and it worked out really nice. I could adjust them easily. I did lay the whole platform on its side to install each drawer slide, and then flipped it to do the other side. Yeah, and then we'll get the drawer in, and you can check out how that works. As far as the top of the platform, I'll have to drill that with a jig so that I can get these lined up. It lined up with this T-track here, and then it'll be anchored a couple places around the perimeter. It really doesn't need much anchoring because it rests underneath the lip of the bed in our truck. So, all right, that's it. Just wanted to show you the hardware, kind of walk through some of the decisions I made, and yeah, the blog post that I eventually make on this will have a lot more detail, as well as links to all the materials I used. All right, this is just another shot with the balances in. You can see that kind of custom piece that, well, I guess the whole thing's custom, but you know what I mean. And there's how they're anchored. I was planning to use both holes, but seemed like it wasn't needed. The bottom of the upper valance and the top of the lower are supported by the drawer slide, so that's enough. Structurally, it's only going to be being pushed against on the outside, so I felt like that was more than sufficient. Probably overkill with those brackets I used, and then the front one. Okay, so here's the drawer. On the face here, this notch is for these locking handles, and that just inserts in there. This arm presses against the upper piece of 220, and ironically, our camper locks work in this lock. I don't know if these are just universal or why that is, but it's pretty sweet. I just used Kreg jigs again on this drawer. Went with 1/2 inch plywood to save weight, and with these with 1/2 inch plywood you have to use the Kreg Jig Mini, and I found that I had to back out the drill stop to more like a 3/8 depth. Otherwise, they break through at the 1/2 inch setting. So I did that on the bottom, had to grind them all down, but it wasn't a big deal. For anchoring them to the drawer slides to the drawer, I use these things. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but I'll have them linked in the post. It's just a much more strong connection for 1/2 inch plywood, I felt like, rather than just screwing straight into the plywood itself. It's just wider surface area, more robust mechanical connection. So that's what I did. I think I did 11 Kreg jigs, anchors along the outside. I just went on the exterior this time instead of toenailing them in from both sides. And then that's how the back was connected. All the walls are attached to this platform base, or drawer base it is. And 6 anchors into the drawer slides. I did have to mock that up, you know, keep the drawer level, and use I used a piece of like 1/8 inch board underneath to space it off of the frame that the drawer rides over, so it doesn't drag. All right, I'll get this in. Should be close to wrapping this up.